Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 23 here on season 2. And today we are getting into a 2 ETF portfolio. A good idea. So, Harvey Dent asked, I want to do a 50-50 on delicious dividends and blue chips, wise or unwise. First of all, I can only give you my personal opinion on whether I think it's a good idea or not a good idea. However, I hope that this video gives you more education on what a two-part ETF portfolio looks like, and then how to assess the proper risk and maybe what to add to your portfolio to help make it less risky. So both of these ETFs are doing extremely well since inception. However, with a two-part portfolio like that, I think that if it was my account, I would look to add more bonds. That's just because that's the way that I run every single investment account that I have. I like to keep at least 20% invested in bonds to help keep, first of all, some of my money locked up and safe, and then also to help my account not be as volatile if I was just exposed to only the stock market, more or less. So let's go ahead and take a look at both ETFs. First of all, this is the Charles Schwab. Wow, that didn't load up like it should. Anyway, so here we go. Basically, today it closed at $53.84, so it's a $53, $54 ETF right now. I actually hold this on both my Robinhood and my Stash account. On my Robinhood account, I've made basically almost a 17% return since I bought, and on Stash, I've got a 19% return. I do like the fact that it does expose you to only stocks that pay dividends, and the expense ratio is like 0.7, and that's, I believe, listed. Expense ratio is 0.07, and it pays about a 3% or so ETF dividend. As far as sector weights go, it's pretty heavily invested into information technology and consumer staples. Actually, if you include the top three, that's almost 55% into the top three sectors right there, and then the rest gets the other 50%. I like the fact that financials is way down here, especially when you compare it to the other ETF that you're talking about. Home Depot, all the stocks that are, the top holdings are super solid, especially like if I'm finished off with Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola has been a pretty solid stock. And I also like the fact that none of the stocks up here in the top are financials. Let's go ahead and look at the charts. So this is the chart. It's been in inception since 2000, and we actually need to go to the 10-year. We'll go ahead and load that up real quick, but it's been around since 2011. And as you can tell, pretty solid rises over the last year or so. We've had a steep pickup since around, actually even since basically August of this year, or of 2017, we've had a steep pickup. That's kind of concerning because it looks like that we're going to have some kind of correction here shortly, just like we've had here was a little bit of a correction, same here in 2016, 2015, and that was probably just because of inauguration. Also around here, same kind of thing, I would suspect. It doesn't show 2008 what it did in 2008, which is kind of concerning because it wasn't instituted in 2011. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Vanguard market cap mega cap ETF, which is MGC, or also known as blue chips on stash. I do like this one a lot. This one, Vanguard ranks at a 0.4, so it's not completely risky, but it's definitely still some level of risk. The expense ratio, I don't believe is listed on this first page. It's actually on the second page that we would have to go look at. Price and performance, or actually it's portfolio management fees on here, I believe. Anyways, somewhere fees probably. So this one is also a 0.07 compared to the average expense ratio, which is almost 1%. So that's really nice. That means that you're not spending a whole lot going towards that. But on price and performance, doing pretty well. Look at, this is the chart. This is the 10-year chart. So it was incepted around 2007, December 2007. Obviously 2008 we had a pretty steep dip. I would say we went from about 10,000 down to 5,000. So we had almost a half. And then same thing like the other one, pretty much mimicked the other one. Going forward, super steep increase over the last couple months. Just good overall. Both of these are very good, solid overall stocks, ETFs. But what I wanted to do is add the S&P 500. So as you could tell, it pretty much is mimicking the S&P 500 on there. And if we add the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it pretty much is doing the same thing. So it's mimicking both those as well. But what I wanted to address was the bonds. And if you add the bonds on here, or add an ETF with bonds, as you could tell, we get a pretty much straight line across, and we get a little bit of a fluctuation there, but look at how steady those bonds are. And even if you had a portfolio that had 10%, 20% into that bond, you would be going from 10,000 now to 14,000, so almost a 5,000 gain if you were to invest $10,000 at the beginning. Where this one, if you were to invest $10,000, you would now have 22. So you would still get, double what you would with just bonds, but it's definitely a good idea to add some bonds into that ETF mix that you're talking about. In my own personal portfolio, if I was to set up something like that, I think it's got great returns. I think it's really actually pretty decent idea. I just know, in my personal opinion, looking at that, it makes me feel uneasy not to have anything into bonds. For me, 20% puts me at ease. If I go any higher than that, it's like, well, I'm not really actually risking a whole lot. So 20% for me, I found is a good common kind of area for me to be invested in bonds. However, I think that you need to assess at what risk would you be willing to go into both those, and then what level of bonds, if any, would you like to add, and then what growth are you expecting. So I think that that's something that you have to decide. I can't make that decision for you. All I know is that if it was my portfolio, I would definitely hedge that with some bonds and look to expose myself to some bonds. But let's go ahead and dive into the question of the day, which is, what game do you dominate when you play it? So this is specifically what I understand is probably talking about video games, and then also like board games. So there's two games that come to mind when I play them. First of all is like super nerdy, StarCraft 2. I used to play that a lot until I started like going hard into YouTube over the last 6 to 8 months, and then I basically stopped playing StarCraft, and YouTube kind of replaced the need to play StarCraft. So congratulations, productivity crushed I guess a video game playing. I don't know what it was. And then the second game is a board game. It's called Pandemic. I absolutely love that game. I love the fact that it's like a group think effort to play the game, and then also the entire group wins. So it's not like you're competing against another person. You're competing against the board to try to win, to stop these outbreaks and stop these different epidemics that are popping up all over the globe. That's pretty much the two games that I think that I dominate in. Like I always say, if you had any questions regarding Stash, Acorns, Robinhood, as well as general investing advice, business, Etsy, coaching, post those questions down below. Don't forget to subscribe up here and check out my Stash Recap December edition. Check out this other video right here. And as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.